As per modern day custom, I share my stories and insights on social media. And a few months ago, Zoe left a comment on one of my LinkedIn responses saying that I lived a charmed life. Now, I was surprised by this for a minute because while my highs are high, my lows are low. But after reflecting on it, I had to admit that I do live a charmed life. To me, living a charmed life is living your full potential. I'm Lesley Williams, a Pan-African globalist, and I believe that everyone has the right to live their full potential regardless of the lives they had no choice of being born into. I've molded my career around this belief, moderating dialogues and change processes for communities and corporates. From traveling to 38 countries, I've seen that institutions are really just a body of people, and all of us have the same baseline needs. Sadly, too many people come to me all the time saying that they are dissatisfied with their lives, and this happens across the socioeconomic divide. So today, I'll be sharing a set of experiences, beliefs, and actions that have supported my journey from youth, as a freelancer, and institution builder. Travel with me to 1988. My mother becomes a pioneer of divorce in my family and community. Very scandalous for the late 80s. And when it was finalized come 2010, symbolizing freedom for both my mother and Mandela, I was on my journey to learning a lot of lessons. One of it is that I need to respond to my soul's needs. So, when I find myself in an environment that is no longer good for me, and I can no longer contribute to making a difference in it, it is time for me to let go. I've also come to learn that many people will not be happy with your decisions. Well, that's an important lesson to learn early on when you're going to be running a company in the future and respond to well-being naysayers on the entrepreneurial journey. Journey with me through time to 1998. I became a student at RAU, die Rand-Suid-Afrikaanse Universiteit, as it was known at the time. Believe it or not, I was quite shy and would have never felt comfortable on a stage like this. But I was attracted to this organization called ISEC. Founded in 1948, it's the world's largest student organization committed to world peace and fulfillment of mankind's potential. I was also attracted to ISEC because of its focus on travel and cultural understanding. You see, it was in ISEC where I met my friends around the world, where I met my ex-boyfriends, I met employers, and I met a number of entrepreneurs who I later on in life launched ventures with. We're going back into time again, reversing to 1994, going into 95. I was 14 years old. The day before my 15th birthday, Nelson Mandela came to my school, and on the morning of my 15th birthday, I ended up being on the front cover of the Sowetan with him, with Nelson Mandela. In fact, this was my first cover. At 15 years old, I would say that's quite an achievement. But what Mandela did that day was share with us that he had the dream to carry us in his pocket closest to his heart. So for the next few years, as Madiba circled the world on jets, on and off, stages here, stages and there, I felt worthy of being on that stage with him. In fact, he told me so. So I'm convinced that if children get this kind of encouragement and messaging from a young age, that they will be encouraged and feel worthy to create a meaningful difference in society. Now sail with me on a ship to another continent at another time. London, 2006, was finally the year that I fulfilled this long-awaited dream of travel. I sold my red Toyota Tazz to enable it, which was very sad for me at the time. But it did so much good for me. Now, after a season of waitressing and doing administration jobs, I had had enough. I knew there had to be more for me than this. Sadly, I did not fit neatly into a recruitment agency's tick box of selecting talent. So I had to take initiative. One day, I took a day off my work and I sat in bed sending emails to companies saying that you and I have the same mission and we therefore need to meet. I was surprised that I got any response, and I actually got a few. Within 3 days, I got offered the job to manage the secretariat of a South African networking club in London. This also freed up my time to start hosting dialogues on social change, which was my true passion. That led to large opportunities where I got invited to international consulting opportunities, thereby launching my international career. Now, we're going to be taking multiple flights to Antarctica, 2009. But I have to first tell you how I got to Antarctica. You see, I got copied into a response email to Peter Senge, who's the world's renowned systems scientist. I've been reading his books for several years, mapping out many innovation ecosystems based on his very work. He shared that he was recruiting emerging leaders for this expedition to Antarctica. So there I was, replying to the email, "Dear Mr. Senge, I would be more than happy to support your recruitment initiative. P.S. I would like to come along too." And what do you know? I applied and I got in. I was one of 60 young leaders from around the world selected onto the expedition, led by Robert Swan, the first man to have walked to both the North and the South Pole. We spent an intense 10 days being exposed to the effects of climate change and debated solutions. Now, while Antarctica was majestic, and I got to spend time with the leading minds in sustainability around the world, I also came to learn that if we do not have a strategic agenda as Africans, then others will always determine what our development should be. That was a turning point for me to learn to get my voice at the table, sometimes being creative in doing so, but my voice will be there. Around the same time, soon after, I met author Meg Wheatley, who was touring South Africa after launching her latest book, Walk On, Walk Out. She shared with us that a common trait amongst change makers was that they live life as an experiment. This came as huge relief to me. You see, I was in the process of setting up Africa's first hub for social entrepreneurs. And the concept of living an experimental life gave me relief because it took the pressure down on what success needs to look like. but I still annoyed my friends. You see, I was that entrepreneur who would keep yapping away about what I'm going to set up without actually launching. Until a friend of mine banned me from speaking about it until I launched. This was when I was confronted with the reality that I was living in fear. And I had to look fear in the eye and acknowledge it. And I learned that when acting in fear, when taking action despite fear, your good friend courage comes along and you journey together. But courage will not show up without action. In 2010, I finally launched. And over the years, I learned that when people know your mission and your heart, then you attract generosity. There came a time when I needed to expand our work and move premises. So on recommendation, I spoke to the International Women's Forum. And after the manager asked me a number of tough questions, she picked up the phone and then turned to me and told me what time Dr. Machel would be landing at OR Tambo International Airport the next day. So there I was, showing up at arrivals, waving this woman down. And that was how I got to meet my mentor for the very first time. She took me to the airport lounge, and over 2 hours I shared my life story, my entrepreneurial journey, and what really felt like confessions, really. After nodding vigorously, she said, "I must see this place." So ever the opportunistic entrepreneur that I am, I said, well, let's go down. So Dr. Vuyo hopped into my dirty little Taz. Side note, I bought my Taz back from my father when I came back from London. But nonetheless, I took this high-powered woman downtown Johannesburg through Hillbrow to show her the place. And after speaking to every single entrepreneur, we returned to the airport. She looked at me and said, "We can't disappoint those people." I took comfort in Bill O'Brien's quote. He says that the quality of an intervention relies on the internal state of the intervener. Now I know that doing inner work is possibly the most important work of designing innovative change. The wheels, however, came off in 2014. I found myself lying on my bathroom floor over a period of 3 days, not knowing what's wrong with me. I couldn't keep food and liquids down. I felt lonely. I realized that as an entrepreneur, I got caught up in business and a crazy travel schedule and isolated the most important people in my life. I had also let go of my hobbies at that time. These were the things going through my head, lying on that floor. It turned out to be a kidney infection. And after a few days of treatment, ever the busy entrepreneur still, caught up in old habits, I forced myself back to work when I was not ready. And within 2 weeks, I was driving in my car, and I saw a bus coming toward me without any space to back up. He narrowly missed my door and hit the front of my car, writing off my little red Taz. What did Lesley do? I got out of my car, assessed the damage, arranged for the car to be moved to my parking bay, and then asked an entrepreneur to take me to my next meeting. It was an investors meeting. How could I miss it? What I did not know that all of these were indicators of what was to come. Within a few months, I temporarily closed my company and gave in to 6 months debilitating burnout. My return to the public life was, however, spectacular. I became Africa's face of failure. You see, a few months before shutting down the hub, I launched a monthly event called F Up Night. Now, I'm not allowed to say the full word, so you can look it up. But F Up Night was really about entrepreneur failure, sharing lessons, learning from others. So in order for me to build legitimacy within the entrepreneur community again, I needed to tell my story. So there I was, sharing it all, nasty illnesses and everything. And strangely, I got invited to do the same in Seattle. It got to the point where Entrepreneur Mag USA even flew over a photographer to take pictures of me to cover my story. My story of burnout was just as spectacular, and people loved calling me to the stage speaking about that. It's needless to say that my mental health and taking care of my internal state has become a priority to me. Finally, what I have come to learn is that when you live your beliefs daily and take micro actions, it rolls out, it has ripple effects, creating larger opportunities for impact, where you get invited to sit at larger tables. Last year, another one of my dreams started to come to life. A dream to moderate dialogues with heads of states. I got invited to moderate a dialogue on Nelson Mandela's legacy between President Barack Obama and Graca, Machel. We find ourselves now in a turbulent time of 2020 due to COVID-19. Let's take this moment to pause, to rethink humanity, and design a world that works for all. This is going to take both micro and bold action. We need to assess the beliefs that drive us and acknowledge that we have an influence on our environment. For me, these are the seeds to create our collective charmed lives. If not now, then never. Thank you.